Good morning, children. In today's class, we learned the first part of the lesson, Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. So, on the screen, you can see a picture. The picture is of the great leader Nelson Mandela, and it was taken in the year 1994, and specifically on the day of the inauguration about which we are learning today, 10th May 1994. And Nelson Mandela is the first president of South Africa. So our lesson name, once again I'm repeating, Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. A Long Walk to Freedom is the autobiography written by Nelson Mandela, and this particular part was taken from the inauguration day. His full name is Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, and he was born on 18 July 1918 in Wazo, Cape Province, Union of South Africa. That means before their independence. And he passed away on 5th December 2013 at the age of 95 in Johannesburg, Gauteng, South Africa. This means after the independence. Before we learn the lesson, I would like you people to understand few things about South Africa, because the entire lesson is based on South Africa. So if you see the first picture, the highlighted part in green color is actual South Africa. It is part of African continent, and it has three capitals. One is executive, the other one is legislative, and the third one is judicial. Pretoria, where the inauguration took place, was their executive capital. Cape Town is their legislative capital, and Bloemfontein is their judicial capital. And they have 11 official languages including English. And the second picture is the flag of Republic of South Africa, and it depicts multiple colors, because they clearly mentioned that they say that these colors and the design was used to show that, represent that multiculturalism and ethnic diversity in the country's new post-apartheid democratic society. Because before their independence, only one race, one colored people used to take care of the entire country. Now they are open for everyone, and they do not have any kind of racism or no apartheid. To signify that, they have chosen this multicolored flag, and it was adopted on 27th April 1994. And their currency, they use South African rands, and in 2012 the present government of that time had started printing Nelson Mandela's picture on the notes as a tribute to the great leader. So now we are moving on to our lesson. I am going to read the lesson first and then I will explain you. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. So Nelson Mandela wrote about the weather on that particular day, and also how he was before he took the oath as a president. So he was telling that the particular day, 10th May, when the inauguration was supposed to happen, the day was very bright and clear. That means the sky is very clear, no clouds, no signs of rain, nothing. It was very nice and very bright. It in another way indicates that till that time these people were oppressed. Their life was miserable, the life was dark, every day was a dark day for them. But from that day onwards they are going to have brighter days. So it also signifies that not only the weather, even their lives are going to be brighter in the near future. And he tells that for the past few days I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries. So from the last few days, he was busy surrounded by all types of dignitaries. Dignitaries means the designated people. For example, in the class I mentioned like our officials, IAS, IPS and all, irrespective of the party which won the election, they are supposed to serve the people. So before the person who won the election takes oath, they have to brief the person about what is going to happen, how he is supposed to handle. So they have to go and meet the person. And here Nelson Mandela is going to be the next president, and he had to understand so many things about government. So there are many dignitaries from the government are with him, and also world leaders, many leaders from many countries across the globe. They came to congratulate him on the independence of the country, and also he is going to become the president. So they are congratulating him on this. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. And also Nelson Mandela is saying that till now there could be so many inaugurations happened in this country, but this would be the largest gathering. Why? Because till now only whites were ruling the country and they did not care to call anybody. But this time it was a democratic government elected by the people, and the person who was elected as the black person, and he is the first black president. It's really a very significant moment for the whole world. So many countries were invited for the inauguration ceremony, and they accepted it and they gracefully attended the ceremony. That's why he's saying that this soil, the South African soil, may not see these many leaders on this, and till now they did not see, and they may not see in the future. So those many countries had accepted the freedom, and they said that we are with you with this particular gesture. And coming to the second paragraph. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy, and now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. So in this second paragraph, he is explaining us the location where the inauguration had took place. The inauguration had took place in the city called Pretoria, and it happened in a sandstone amphitheatre. The amphitheatre is nothing but an open stadium where the seats are constructed in such a way that everybody can view the stage, and it was a sandstone amphitheatre, and this is formed by Union buildings. The Union buildings which were built in Pretoria were near to there, and they were surrounded by this. And also he is saying that for decades, for many years, this had been the seat of white supremacy, had been the place of white supremacy. Here seat means he is not talking about the particular chair. That particular place had witnessed the gatherings of white leaders only. The powerful people, all powerful people were whites. No black was given a chance. Till that time it only allowed whites. But now if you see, it was the site of rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. So he is saying that now till that time only white colored people were there, but now if you see, there are many different colored people from different countries had come to show their support to South Africa. You can see two pictures here. The first one is sandstone amphitheatre in Pretoria, where the inauguration took place, And the second picture is the Union buildings in Pretoria. These are the original pictures. Now, I would like to show you some pictures of the great leaders who attended the ceremony there. In the first picture, if you see, Nelson Mandela is with two leaders. So, who are those two? The one with the hood is Yasser Arafat, the great leader of Palestine, and he is the leader of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and he was very famous for his techniques. And the other one who is right to Nelson Mandela is the President Ezer Weizmann of Israel. And the another important and very famous person whom you can see in this picture in khaki uniform next to a lady in colorful dress is another very famous world leader named as Fidel Castro. His name is Fidel Castro. And now I want you to see another picture where the person from the first picture, Mr. Yasser Arafat, is along with another very important leader from the United States. His name is Colin Powell, and he was the former chairman of the US Joint Chiefs and Staff. These all were very famous people at that time, global leaders, and these people, they had attended the inauguration and congratulated our Nelson Mandela. So now going to the next part. So here also you can see one picture. That picture you can see main three persons. One is Nelson Mandela, and towards his left side there was a lady standing, and the right side one more person was standing. So we will understand who are they. He mentioned that very clearly in this. On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zinani. So the lady in red is no other than Zinani, his daughter. On the podium, Mr. de Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. So before he took the oath as a president, his two deputies had sworn as presidents. First the second deputy and then the first deputy. The person who is standing next to him towards his right side is his first deputy president, Thabo Mbeki. And now it was his turn. So when it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said. So when it was his turn to take the oath, he promised that he is going to devote himself to the well-being of the country and of its people. And after the oath ceremony, he has to address the gathering. So he spoke to all the audience present over there. So what did he speak? So he said, today all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. So he started his addressing like this. Today we all are happy because we received victory. Now we are happy, and the newborn liberty, the freedom has just born. And how did it born? Because it was born out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster. It is not a natural disaster, it is a human disaster. This disaster was caused by humans to the humans, and we experienced it not for few days or few years. It was lasted too long. How many years? 300 years, 3 centuries it lasted. So after 300 years of this human disaster, now we were able to get liberty, freedom, and this is just a kind of newborn baby. So we have to take care of this baby very carefully, and this baby should be grown in such a way that the entire humanity should be proud of it. So here he compared the new liberty with a newborn baby. We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of a country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. So in this paragraph he was telling that till now we did not have any kind of identity, no significance, we did not have any kind of protection from the government. Such kind of people today, we were given a rare privilege. We got a very good honor opportunity to host the nations of the world. We were able to call the nations, invite the other country people to the inauguration of our democracy, and that too it is happening on our own soil. We are really happy, we are really pleased with your presence. So he is giving, he was showing his gratitude towards the guests or the world leaders who came to attend the ceremony, because it tells that they are with them and they are going to support them when they are creating their new country. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender and other discrimination. So he is saying that finally we were able to get our political freedom. We are free from everything now. So now we all of us are taking a note that along with this, till now we were not free, now we got freedom. So now we have to take a pledge that we will also get freedom from poverty, deprivation, suffering, any kind of human suffering. We will get rid of it, and we will not have gender discrimination or any other discrimination in our country. We will get rid of all those things. Never, never and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. And he confirms, he repeats that this beautiful country will never ever be oppressed by any other person. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. He's telling that the sun should not set on this glorious achievement. He's not telling that the sun should not set on South Africa. Sun has to set and sun has to rise. But here he meant that this is a very glorious achievement, and this achievement should be remembered by everybody. So it should look bright. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa. So these are his words in the speech. So now in the second part, Nelson Mandela is going to recall the memories of the history of South Africa and the events which led them to fight for their freedom. He begins the second part in this way. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before, they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. So, in this particular paragraph, Nelson Mandela was talking about the loyalty of the military. The military was formed by the previous government, the British government, and all officials were British nationals. But now, on this particular occasion, the independence of South Africa, the military also decided to show their loyalty to the new formed government. And this new government was freely and fairly elected by the people. It is a democratic government. So, the military also pledged that they are going to support this new government in all possible ways to in order to show their loyalty to the new formed government and the people who got elected by the people. They had displayed their workmanship using their African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers. And at that particular moment, when these people were displaying all these beautiful displays in the sky, and also when they were taking the pledge that they are going to obey the new government, our Nelson Mandela thought, his mind was full of memories. And one memory was this: he was thinking that, the persons who were taking pledge here and who are promising that they are going to obey the new government are all are very senior officials, because it tells that their chests decorated with, they have received so many ribbons and medals for the career what they had spent in the military, and the bravery, the achievements what they had achieved when they are part of military. That means that shows their seniority, the years of experience, and also their dedication towards the previous government. Those people now they are agreeing to the new government. So they are all seniors of military officers. They are ready to obey the new government, and also they saluted Nelson Mandela. So here at that particular moment, after watching all those people doing all these things which never happened in the past, he thought that, I will never forget the fact that many years ago the same officials, if they had seen me, they would have arrested me instead of saluting. So things have completely changed. Now I am not an enemy for them, and they are not my enemies. We all are together, and we are going to work for the benefit of the government and the people. And he is ending this particular statement by telling that a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. Chevron means a pattern in the shape of a V. So there were a type of jets, Impala jets we call them, and they left smoke trails of the colors which signifies the South African flag. Just to show you how does it form, I have taken a picture. It is not the South African flag. It was taken from a different country's Independence Day. So the smoke trail, when these jets deliver the smoke, they mix up some colors, so they will reflect the flag or the respective occasion colors. And also it talks about the high level discipline maintained by the military, because it is not easy to do any activity in the sky. They need a lot of training, courage, and precision. They very well mention that it's a pinpoint precision, a particular fantastic word used for it. Yes. Now moving on to the next paragraph. So in the next paragraph, he is going to talk about the national anthems of South Africa. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Kosi Sikelel Africa and blacks singing Diestem, the old anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. So in this particular paragraph, he's saying that Whites were singing Africans' national anthem, and blacks were singing their national anthem. So, what does it mean? So, to understand that, we first understand about these two national anthems. So, Kosis Sikilal e Africa means God bless Africa, and it was used by the Africans when they fought for their freedom. And they made it as their national anthem after they got their independence. So, it was used as their national anthem from 1994 to 1997. And coming to the another anthem, which was in this as per the paragraph, singing Diestem, sang by the black nationals, is Diestem. Diestem means the call of South Africa, and this was the national anthem by the previous republic. Previous government means the government ruled by Britishers, and this national anthem was into action from 1930 to 1994. So, before the freedom, the national anthem was Diestem, which was never accepted by the African nationals, that means the South African people. And after the independence, after 1990, 10th May 1994, they declared that Kosi Sikilal e Africa, which was their a song during the freedom fight, as their national anthem. So now these two people, one whites and the other blacks, they never used to accept each other's national anthem. Now they accepted, and they sang these two anthems at a time, one by one. That means these people, they accepted each other. And also they were saying that although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the verse by heart. Blacks never used to sing Diestem, and whites never used to sing Kosi Sikilal. But now on that particular day they sang each other's anthems. That means they never sang, they never understood the meaning of these anthems, but now they have decided to understand each other's anthems and work together. So, to prove that, in 1997 South African government has recognized these two as their national anthems, and combining these two they prepared a hybrid song. And hybrid song means here the combination of these two songs, and they declared it as their national anthem. So now this Kosi Sikilal Africa Diestem is the national anthem. Together it is the national anthem. So the next part, he was going to talk about the things which actually put these people into apartheid, why these people were put into apartheid and what happened. To understand that, we must understand certain things about Anglo Bhava War. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. So here he was saying that on that particular day his mind was completely thinking about the past, the things which made him to fight, the situations which made all these people to fight for the independence. So he began with that. How? In the first decade of 20th century, that means from 1901 to 1910, the first decade means 10 years. And a few years after the bitter Anglo Boer War and before my own birth, there is a certain period he was talking about. That period was before his own birth. What was before his own birth? He took birth in 1918. But he was saying that, it was in the first decade. That means 1910 we must consider. At that time, he did not take birth. And also he says, after the bitter Anglo Boer War. This Anglo Boer War it happened in between 1899 to 1902. That means he was saying that the period between 1902 to 1910, okay, in that period, something had happened. What had happened? He was talking. So before understand that, we must understand what is an Anglo Boer War. So Anglos means Britishers, and Boers means South African person of Dutch descent. A South African person, the citizenship is of South Africa's citizenship, but he is not a black. He is a settled, a Dutch settled, a Dutch descent. Okay, so he's also a white person. Before Britishers, they had gone there and they tried to invade the country, like how India was invaded by different people like Mughals, Portuguese, French, Britishers, and all. So South Africa was also invaded by others. So Dutch were among them. So those people, they got settled over there. So these Dutch people and British people, they had a fight for the victory, and that is called Anglo Bhava War, and it happened from 1899 to 1902. During that war, both sides, they used South African, the blacks, as their soldiers, and many lakhs of people were died, and it was a big tragedy in South African history. So after they fought, these two people, at the end of the day, these two were white skinned. These two white skinned peoples, here peoples means, generally people means a group of human beings belonging to a particular race or ethnicity, as a one particular group, in simple words. Peoples means the plural of such groups. The plural of such groups means only Britishers are standing, we will say British people. Indians are standing, Indian people. Chinese are standing, Chinese people. When these three groups are together there, then we call them as peoples. That's the meaning of peoples. So these white-skinned peoples means Britishers and Dutch people. These two groups together, they patched up. They patched up means they came to an agreement. Again, agreement. Agreement about their differences. Differences means they have some difference of opinions. So now they came to a mutual agreement, and then what did they do? They erected a system of racial domination against the dark skinned peoples of their own land. So they patched it up, and now they started the racial discrimination against the people who are actual locals of South Africa. That means the black people, the of their own land, the dark skinned people. So those two came to an agreement, and they tried to suppress the actual South Africa. Now, the structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century, and my own 8th decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of the color of their skin. So in this he is trying to Nelson Mandela is trying to explain us that that the system which was created by these white skinned people had created an atmosphere of extreme cruelty and injustice, and that is only for a particular part of the community. Which community is that? That is the blacks community. And now he's saying that now I am in my 8th decade as a man. That means he is almost 8 years old, and he, along with countless others, he fought for the freedom of the country, and they all of them have changed this entire system that had treated humans as humans irrespective of their color, caste, gender, or age. Next paragraph. The day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. So, in this particular paragraph, our Nelson Mandela was talking about the freedom fighters, the patriots who had sacrificed their lives for the freedom of the country. And he is saying that this equal and free country, this democratic country, was a result of the sacrifices of countless other men and women who have fought all their lives for this day. It is not a single person's achievement. There was countless men and women together. They fought, and they did not fight for 1 or 2 days. They fight throughout their lives for this particular day. And Nelson Mandela wishes to thank all of them, but unfortunately, they don't live at this time. That means they all died during the freedom fight. But he says that I am going to keep up this lineage and I will be their heir. I will continue their legacy, and I will try to fulfill the dreams of all of those freedom fighters who dreamt for the freedom of the country. And also, Nelson Mandela is saying that I gathered courage and power from all these people, and I wish to make all of them proud. The next paragraph. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sislers, the Chief Lutless, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobaks of our time. Men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it required such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. So, in this particular paragraph, he is going to talk about the great people who were produced by the freedom fight of South Africa. So, he took a few names. Among them, there were so many thousands of people, but he had given few names. You can see them on the screen. Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Chief Lutley, Yusuf Dadu, Bram Fisher, Robert Sobukwe. So he is saying that by taking all these people, all these names, that the oppression policy scared many people, and it will take a long time for them to move on. Move on means to recover from the wounds created by the Britishers. They have poverty in the country. They have to overcome the poverty. They do not have medical system. They do not have any kind of development. So now, to overcome all these things, it will take a long time. Yes, we agree with that. At the same time, he also says that this hard time, what is the hard time? The freedom struggle had its negative impacts. At the same time, it also exposed a lot of strong and courageous men who stood up and raised their voice. So, thus, it required that level of unjust treatment to produce such great heroes. So, in this, he is trying to tell that there are so many negative impacts from them. But if I look into the brighter side of this freedom struggle, I would say that it had produced many people like diamonds, talented people, talented poets, writers, speakers, and all from their South Africa, who can fight against these Britishers and bring justice to the country. And then he says that South Africa is rich in minerals and gems, but its greatest strength lies in its people. Not only the gems and minerals, we are also very rich in the good people, the good human beings, the talented people. So, it is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. So, in this particular paragraph, Nelson Mandela was talking about the bravery versus fear. He says that he gained his strength to stand against the wrong from all the great nationalists he mentioned above. That means he says that the courage what he has in himself and the resilience what he learned throughout his life, he learned all this from the great leaders, great freedom fighters who sacrificed uh, for the freedom of the country. And also, he says that these people risked their lives for freedom and tolerated ill treatment, but never stopped fighting. So, does it mean that these people does not have fear? So, for this, he is saying that it's not that they do not have fear, but it is that ability to overcome fear made them fight for the freedom of the country. So, from this, he learned that courage did not mean the absence of fear, but the ability to overcome fear. The man who overcomes his fear is called brave. So, here we should learn a brave person does not mean that he does not have fear. Only thing here is he has fear, but he conquers, he overcomes the fear. Moving on to the last paragraph of the part 2. In this paragraph, he talks about love and hate. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. Perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So, in this paragraph, he's saying that any person is, he was not born with hate in his heart. It's society teaches him how to hate other human beings based on their skin, color, age, gender, religion, and social status, money. And he also confirms that no one is really born with hatred. Here, Nelson Mandela's idea is that if people can be taught hatred, they can also be taught love and brotherhood. And also, he says that actually love is within us. It is within us from our birth. And he tells that in the most testing times of his life, when he spent in the prison, when they were very treated brutally, and Mandela used to see a pinch of humanity and kindness in one of the guards, and that was enough to keep him going. He believes that goodness in human beings can be suppressed but never eliminated. To tell this statement, he uses a sentence here. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So, man's kindness, goodness is compared with a flame. So here the flame can be suppressed, but you cannot extinguish or you cannot eliminate the kindness which is in the human being. In this part, Nelson Mandela talks about the most important responsibilities of a human being. He says that in life, every man has two twin obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife, and children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. So Nelson Mandela was saying that every human being will have two responsibilities. The first one is towards the family, and the second one is towards the society, the country, the place where he lives in. So if he has to take a responsibility towards the family, means here he must have to take care of his aged parents, he has to help his children, he has to help his wife, and he also has to help his family members. It's not only feeding them, they must be having so many other helps which he has to fulfill as a family member. Along with this responsibility, every human being has another responsibility towards the society, country, the place, the mother earth where we live in. So what are they? I'm just trying to give few examples. As a responsible citizen of this mother earth, we may have to save the other habitat which is living along with us. We may have to save the wild animals, the other animals which are getting destroyed, and we may have to protect the country and protect people, and we may have to protect mother earth, the environment, by planting so many plants. We may have to fight against the corruption. It does not mean that we have to join any kind of movement and we have to fight for that. If you just fulfill your duties as a citizen by paying your taxes regularly, obeying traffic rules, obeying all other fundamental duties which were given by the government, that means you are fulfilling your second responsibility. That is more than enough. But here Nelson Mandela says that one person can fulfill and maintain the balance between these two in any other democratic country or any other place where he has freedom. But in countries like South Africa, it was never so easy. And he also says that when a person of color means when a black person would come up for his society, if he tries to take care of his society, fight for the society, then what happens? He would be arrested and taken away from his family, thus keeping them from fulfilling both responsibilities. If he tries to take care of the country, that means he will be pulled away from the family and he will be kept somewhere. That means he will not be able to fulfill his responsibility as towards the family and towards the country. And also Nelson Mandela says in this particular paragraph that in the beginning he never thought that he would give priority to the society than to his family. He always kept family as his first priority. But later on he realized that society should be his first priority, country should be his first priority. Then we started giving first priority to the country. Then what happened? he had to compromise towards his duties of his family. That is what he was trying to tell us. And next paragraph. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. So, in this paragraph, our Nelson Mandela was saying that I did not have the plan to stand against the apartheid system early in my life. Early means when he was a kid. He never thought that he had to fight for his freedom. Why? Because he lived his childhood like any normal child in South Africa. He had his own freedom. He only had to follow the rules set up by his father or the customs of his tribe. As long as he followed their rules and regulations, he was allowed to do whatever he can do. So nobody stopped his freedom. And few examples he was giving as the modes of freedom according to our Nelson Mandela. One is that playing near the fields and swimming in the nearby stream and eating mealies under the stars, that means during the night time, and having a ride on a bull. So as a child he enjoyed his freedom. He never thought he will become a freedom fighter. The next paragraph. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in lawful life. So, in this paragraph, he is saying that as soon as he grew up and began to learn the facts as to how people of color are treated, he decided to stand against it. And this kind of urge for freedom has started when he became a young man. He became a young boy. As a young man, he wanted to have certain freedoms. Few examples he was giving that staying out at night and reading the book what he wanted to read and going where he wanted to go. So as a young boy, he observed that these freedoms were restricted. Now he does not have freedom. Then he thought, I should have all these freedoms for myself. I should decide what I'm supposed to do, where should I go, what should I read. But later on, he realized that it is not only for me, it is for everybody. And when he was living a life as a young man, that means he completed his studies and he started working in Johannesburg, he wanted to yearn for the basic freedoms. Basic freedoms for a human being is like a peaceful marriage, family, and basic amenities which everyone has access, where law and order exists. But here Nelson Mandela wants to get married to a girl whom he wants to marry, and wanted to have a family, and wanted to have a good job, decent life in the society, and have some savings. And then he realized these all are not possible in this country because of apartheid. Then he decided to fight for the freedom. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress. and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. So, in this particular paragraph, Nelson Mandela was trying to tell us that he joined the African National Congress when he realized it is not only him whose basic rights were snatched away, but of all those who look like him. Who look like him means who have the black skin, African Negroes. He had this fire inside him to free his people from this injustice. It was this fire that changed the author, that changed Nelson Mandela completely as a man, from being scared to be brave, a lawyer to the one who breaks the law, a family man to a man without a home, and a lively and happy man into being a monk. And he also says that it was a knowledge that he and his people have restricted freedom that made him into a selfless man as opposed to before. According to him, freedom cannot be divided. Nobody can divide it. Snatching it away from someone was equivalent to taking it away from everyone, and that meant taking it away from the author. And he also mentions that the chains which were put on his people, chains put on his people means the freedom which was taken from his people means he does not have freedom. He does not have freedom means his people did not have freedom. He says that we all have chains around us. We all do not have freedom. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. So first you need to understand what is the meaning of oppression. Oppression means keeping down somebody with unjust force. That means to make them sad, gloomy, or to trouble them with a force. It can be physical, emotional, or any kind of force where the others are for injustice. They will not have their rights. So here oppressor means the person who is showing that force, who is oppressing the others. So according to our paragraph, the oppressor is the Britishers. Oppressed means the person who is taking, on whom these all evil things are happening, the bad things are happening, is oppressed. Oppressed here in our lesson is South African person. So in this paragraph, Nelson Mandela mentions that the need to freedom, the need to free the oppressor is as high as that of the oppressed. That means he says that not only the oppressed should get the freedom, even oppressor also should get the freedom. Again, oppressor is Britisher, oppressed is South African person. Not only a South African person should get freedom, even Britisher also should get freedom. So what kind of freedom he should get? He says that these Britishers, these oppressors are bounded by the shackles of hatred. They're bounded with hatred. So they should be free from that hatred. He has the weight of all the people whom he has tormented. For that, he carries the curses of all of their families. Here, the Britishers, they tormented, they troubled so many men, women, families, and all. So they are taking their uh, pain. So, for taking away someone else's freedom and making them a prisoner, he also becomes a prisoner. Who becomes a prisoner? The oppressor also becomes a prisoner. So, he says that at the end of the sentence, Nelson Mandela gives conclusion that the oppressed and the oppressor are robbed of their humanity. That means oppressor robbed the humanity of the oppressed. So he also should be freed. Robbing, thieving something, stealing something is not a good thing. So he is also a prisoner. But what kind of prisoner he is? He is prisoner of hatred. So he should be free. So in these two paragraphs, he gives a conclusion that what made him to join the African National Congress, and how his life changed before he joined the African National Congress and after he joined the African National Congress. And also he discusses how an oppressor, a Britisher, should be freed, because what is binding him, what kind of problem he also is facing inside him, he mentions.